All right guys, today we're talking about the Power Probe, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Let's get into it. All right, a lot of us have a Power Probe. A lot of people swear by it, right? If you guys have watched our videos, you know we use it. And you also know that sometimes I call it a certain thing, which, you know, is, it's definitely, it hasn't earned that name, but the use of it in certain ways has earned that name, and that's the WMD. So what I want to go over in this video is, I'm going to show you the good things that this thing will do. I'm going to show you where it's a little bit weak, and then I'm going to show you where it can be really, really bad and be destructive. And I'm going to tell you how can we avoid that from happening, right? So that's probably the most important part of this video. So of course, you know, that's going to be at the end of the video. So go ahead and like and share and subscribe. So Sherwood says like, share, and subscribe. Do it now. All right. So let's talk about let's just talk about some really quick basics, where this thing shines, right? So we hook this thing up to a battery, wherever the battery may be. You know, obviously this car is really easy. We just get this thing clamped around the battery post, and that just brings, you know, power and ground right to this tip, right? And you know, it's got a great thing where you can pull this out, banana clip, banana plugs, you can put in your cables, whatever you want to do. It's very handy. A lot of times people don't use it for that, but it does come in handy. The quick down and dirty, where would I use this thing? Well, I don't want to be searching for a ground on a test light in a modern car. I mean, you could be, maybe you've got a fuse box in the trunk and you need to, check fuses real fast. And, yeah, maybe we're not, really overly concerned about, we're not doing voltage drop testing and stuff like that on this thing. We're not getting down and dirty into it. So maybe we don't need the battery positive and negative on it. But if I'm already at it, it's at the front of the vehicle. I got a nice long cable. They've got the extensions that you can put on this thing and take it all the way to the back of a truck, right? It's really, really handy because now I've got this thing and I can just go right into a fuse box and really super fast, right down the line, I'm checking my fuses, right? And it's one of those tests where it's like, okay, if it fails, it's no good, right? The fuse is blown. If it passes, does that mean the circuit's good and I've got, what I need there to when it's functional? No, not necessarily, because the thing may not be being loaded, right? So I mean, but that's the same thing with a test light. But here is the difference between this and a test light. And this is where one of the weaker points of this. This is not going to load the circuit at all, right? This is just going to take whatever that reading is at the fuse and give it to you right then. It's not going to put any kind of load on it. If you have a LED test light, it's the same thing. Not going to put a load on that. But if you just got an old school incandescent bulb test light and you're checking for your fuses to be blown, or checking for power at the fuses, that will put a little bit of a load on that circuit. And sometimes I've seen where you put this on the fuse and it's good, right? And then I've seen you put a test light on that same fuse, just an old school incandescent test light, and boom, the test light does not light. And why was that? Well, because the circuit can't carry the load. And if it can't carry the load of a little tiny test light, it's definitely not going to carry the load on whatever that circuit is actually, trying to work. So that's a good side of this is it's kind of a no-go a go no-go test. If I go in here and I test it and it's bad, it's 100% bad. If I go in there and test it and it's good, doesn't necessarily mean that the circuit's good. It could definitely tell you that the fuse is good or not, but maybe not the circuit. So that's a strong point and kind of a weak point all at once. I'll tell you another thing that I think is super handy with this thing, and a lot of people don't use it, is this little guy right here. So you guys all know how I am about going back to the battery, right? Well, this is hooked to the battery, right? This is our ground coming from our battery. So it's, as long as our cabling and everything is good, which you should be checking periodically, believe me, as long as it's all good, this is a good ground. So now if I'm in the car and I need to do some testing, maybe I've got my scope hooked up, I'm inside the car, or maybe I've got a scope, maybe where the lead's not long, I don't have my extra long leads on it. I've got this thing, boom, I can hook my scope right here and I'm straight to the battery, right? And I've never personally have an issue with that. I've voltage drop tested them and never had an issue. I'm not saying that, it's always good to check it every once in a while, but because we want to make sure the cabling is good and connections are good and everything. But that's with any test equipment. So that's something that is really, really great and it is often overlooked. So I don't know, this particular one, and this was one thing that the hook was really good about. This one doesn't have it, but you could actually lock the power on the hook, right? You can't do it on this, but the same as this is a good ground, right? Well, now we got good power. And if we need to, I'm gonna turn the buzzer off. If we need to take and put power here, you know, we're gonna try to activate something, and we're gonna get to that later. Or maybe we're going to check a ground circuit, and we want to load test a ground circuit, and we've got our bulb there, and we want to go into the ground side of it, but we need to find a power. Well, here's our power, right? We can take them, if you've got your load box or whatever, take in and watch our video on the load box. It's got leads on it, put it right in there. Here's your power side right there, right? Here's your power side, there's your ground side. Now you got to do is take the other side of the load box and put it into your circuit, your powers and grounds. And just by doing this, you're doing powers and grounds through a load box. This is not loading it. We just discussed that, but the load box would be. So I hope that makes sense. It's super, super easy, and it's super handy, right? Because I'm not sitting there trying to swap things around and searching for stuff and searching for a power. I mean, that's always been kind of a thing in cars when you need a power somewhere to do something with, and you're trying to find it. This is good, clean power from the battery, fused, 10 amp fuse in it. So it's you know, quasi safe. But we're getting there, right? So, you know, again, you know, so that would be the strong points. Quick voltage testing, just real quick, you know, just to see if you got something there. Doesn't really load it, so it's not going to tell you if it can hold a load or anything. The weak side is it's not loading. You need to have something to do that. But let's talk about the thing that I think is often, this is where I see the problem with this tool. And believe me, as a shop that does a lot of programming, you know, we get other shops from all around us that do programming, and these are great shops and great guys, and I'm friends with all of them. You will get somebody that will get this tool and they just cannot stand not pushing the button, right? They just got to push the button, right? And here is what happens. Let's just say, perfect example here. Let's just say you've got this relay. Let's just say whatever this relay is supposed to turn on is not coming on, right? So somebody will go, well, I want to just turn it on, right? Because, you know, in reality, what you've got in this relay is you got a power in, a power out, right? And then you got some way to control it, okay? Now that's a 5-pin, so you know, you've got power out all the time on this one, but when it's not on. But in this case, you'll get somebody, and what they'll do is they'll come in here, and they're like, I just want to put power out, right? And they will just, you know, I'm just going to stick power somewhere, right? And they won't know what button, what's what, okay? And let me tell you guys something. If you stick this right here, and you put it in one of these spots, and you hit that power button, or even that ground button, either one of them could potentially, highly likely, let the smoke out of whatever is activating this, right? So something is turning this on and off. And it's using a very low current. That's why a relay is there, right? A relay is in place because we have a high current draw usually, and we need to control it, and we're going to control it with a low current output. So we're going to have a power and then a ground, or, you know, one of them's going to be applied, one of them's going to be on all the time, usually, not always, and then we're going to have power coming in and power going out, right? So if you put that power probe on the wrong terminal and you hit that power switch, or you even hit that ground switch, you could potentially, quite easily and extremely quickly, I'm talking like that, burn up a module or burn up whatever is controlling this. And that's what we see is we get shops that come in that are like, you know, need y'all to check this stuff out. And we had one that just comes to mind is we had a Nissan from a shop here in town. You know, again, great guys, know them, and they had a younger tech. He was checking the AC and could not get the AC to come on, the compressor to come on. So he unhooked the pressure switch in the AC system, and not knowing, because, you know, old school, right? What do we get in a pressure switch? I mean, if we go way back, we had 2-wire pressure switch, power going in, power going out, and the switch just opened and closed, right? I'm thinking that he thought that's what he had, but he didn't. He had a 3-wire switch. It was just not a switch really. It was more of a pressure. It was a pressure sensor. He put the power probe in it. He hit the button, trying to get the compressor to come on. Then the car shut off, and that was it. That was the end of that module. And it took, obviously a new module, and then had to figure out what was wrong with the AC system. So how do you make sure that you don't have that happen to you, right? What is the I'm going to make sure that never happens to me cure for that? And it's going to sound so simple because it really is. The way you're going to know that is you're going to 100% know what circuit. If you're going into one of these circuits, you're not going to guess. You're going to look up a wiring diagram. You're going to see what each one of these goes to. You're going to know exactly how it functions. You're going to know what is on that circuit at all times, and you're going to know exactly what to expect when you hit that button, right? If you're 99.9% sure that you're okay, you do not push the button. You are 100% sure that when you touch this to a circuit and you push one of those, that toggle switch one way or the other, you are 100% sure that you know what is going to happen and that you're safe, right? That you cannot damage anything, right? If you're 100% sure, you go for it. You're going to be okay, because I trust that you're going to do enough research to know that. But if you're 1/10 of a percent, 100th of a percent not sure, don't push it. Do some more research, figure it out, get comfortable. The thing you don't want to be doing is you don't want to be standing over that thing with your stomach in a knot going, I think I'm okay. Poof, right? Don't do that. So as simple as that sounds, that is reality, right? The reality is know what you're working on, know what to expect, know what the circuit is, what kind of load can it carry, what do you expect it to do when you push the switch. So that's really it. And if you do that, if you follow that rule, then this is a fantastic tool, right? If you're the person that just can't follow that rule, you just got to push that switch, then just don't do it. Just put this thing in your toolbox and use it for checking fuses maybe, but don't put any power on anything with it. Even though it's 10 amps, I know it's fused, and people say, well, it's fused. 10 amps is a lot. Some of these circuits that we're dealing with are very, very, very low voltage and low current circuits. So anyway, guys, I know that's a pretty brief overview of a Power Pro. We like them. I've used them for years. I've bought every one. I've bought every one that I have, and I think I've got just about every kind of Power Pro there is, including the hook. But again, I think it's a great tool. I just think that it needs to be used with some caution, and then it'll do a good job for you, like a lot of tools that we have. So I hope you like this content. I hope you like this video. If you do, thumbs up, subscribe, hit that bell notification. Leave a comment down below. Let us, if you got a tool that you're interested in us looking at and giving some information on, giving you our thoughts on it. Love to hear them. And we'll see you in the next one.